You ever walk into a place and feel like the air is watching you? Not just heavy, but aware. Well, if you ever step into the Lizzie Borden House in Fall River, Massachusetts, that's exactly what happens. And trust me, after 25 years dealing with spirits, curses, and things that don't blink, this house still gets under my skin. Because this isn't just another haunted place. This one is real. A double murder, a divided family, a storm of lies, fear, and silence. Everything actually happened. And that emotional weight, you can still feel it pressing through the floorboards. Now, before we dig in, let me pull you closer for a second. We humans have a strange instinct. Whenever a mystery has missing pieces, our minds refuse to let go. That's exactly why the Lizzie Borden case has survived for more than a century. Every room, every photo, every creaking board tells you, you don't know the whole truth yet, and maybe you never will. So let's rewind to August 4th, 1892, a day so hot it made people irritable, restless, sweaty, inside the Borden home. Though the heat wasn't the only thing rising. Andrew Borden, strict, frugal, feared. Abby Borden's stepmother, private, uneasy in her own home. Lizzie, emotional, unpredictable, smarter than people realized. Emma, quiet, observant, a shadow glued to the wall. The house itself, small hallways, locked doors inside a locked house, privacy strangled by rules. A place where secrets didn't just live, they piled up. You see, people always talk about the murder, but few talk about the psychological pressure cooker that was already bubbling before the axe ever dropped. Resentment, isolation, money, control, and fear. Lots of fear. Even today, when I walk through that narrow hallway at the top of the stairs, right where Abby's body was found, there is a strange emotional echo. Not a ghostly moan, not a whisper, but a heavy, human feeling. As if the moment she realized she wasn't alone is still hanging in the air. And let me remind you of something. Real tragedy leaves fingerprints on reality. That's why this place feels so disturbingly authentic. Not a story told, but a wound that never healed. Now here's where the mystery deepens. At 11:10 a.m., Andrew is found dead on the living room couch. His face, well, let's just say the damage was so severe that the police, hardened men, looked pale. What shocked them even more? No signs of forced entry, no sounds of struggle. No one claimed to see or hear anything. A murder in a sealed house, and that's the hook that drives people insane to this day. Because when something horrifying happens in a place that's supposed to be safe, you start wondering whether your home can betray you too. That emotional connection makes the fear personal to personal. Now, as a paranormal investigator, I've stood in that very living room at 2 a.m., and I swear to you, even if you don't believe in ghosts, something in that room watches you. Not evil, just aware, as if the walls remember. And that's why this story never dies. Because it's real. Because it's human. Because the line between victim and suspect is still blurry. And because the silence in that house is louder than any scream. But here's the thing, the strange part. The biggest twist hasn't even shown up yet. And to understand why the Lizzie Borden house became one of the most violent hauntings on the East Coast, we need to go deeper, much deeper. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at a person and felt like they're hiding a universe behind their eyes? A universe made of secrets they'll never say out loud. That's Lizzie Borden. Welcome back, because now we're stepping into the part of the story where curiosity turns into full-blown obsession. Because once the police started investigating, everything just fell into a fog of contradictions, half-truths, and moral gray zones. Remember, real events are always messier than fiction. They don't give clean villains or perfect victims. They're complicated. And that's what makes this case so chilling. Let's start with the interrogation. Lizzie's answers were strange calm when she shouldn't be, confused when the questions were simple, emotional at the wrong moments. Some people say she was panicked. Others say she was medicated. A few believe she was performing. But here's the psychological twist that still haunts experts today. Lizzie seemed both innocent and guilty at the same time. Her behavior danced right on that blurry line between trauma and deception. And that ambiguity, that's what keeps the legend alive. Now, on to the paranormal side, because this is where things start getting seriously uncomfortable. Visitors and investigators report the same experiences again and again. Footsteps pacing the hallway where Abby died. Soft crying in Lizzie's old bedroom. Cold spots that move like someone walking past you. A shadow figure lingering near the couch where Andrew took his final breath. This isn't Hollywood horror. This is emotional residue. Unresolved, human. The Borden house isn't haunted because of ghosts. It's haunted because of everything that never got answered. The shame, the fear, the truth nobody ever pinned down. And here is something we rarely talk about. A lot of hauntings aren't just spirits, they psychological imprints. Trauma sticks to places like smoke to fabric. And this house, it's soaked with it. But maybe the biggest twist is that the hauntings don't match the official story. People don't see an angry ghost. They see confused ones, lost ones, spirits pacing the rooms like they're still trying to figure out what happened to them, which forces us to ask the question the court never fully answered. What if the truth wasn't what everyone assumed? What if Andrew and Abby's spirits linger not because of murder, but because something about that day still doesn't make sense even to them? Now let's talk about that locked door layout, because this is the part that makes investigators, psychologists, and even criminologists lose sleep. The Borden house was practically a maze of privacy barriers, doors that locked from both sides, rooms connected in strange ways, spaces you could access only by passing through someone else's bedroom. Living like that warps a person. No boundaries, no safety, always watched, always listening. This house didn't just witness the crime. It helped create the pressure that made it possible. And when you look at it that way, the line between supernatural and psychological starts to blur. Was it a haunting, or a buildup of emotional storms waiting to explode? But before you jump to theories, remember there's still one more piece of the puzzle. The part most people ignore. The part that flips the entire story on its head. And once you hear it, you'll never look at the Lizzie Borden house the same way again. Let me hit you with something bold. What if the Lizzie Borden house isn't haunted by the truth, but haunted because the truth was never found? Welcome to part 3. Where we finally confront the twist that shatters the clean, easy version of this case. Let's begin with the moment the trial ended. Lizzie Borden, acquitted, not guilty, free. But here's the strange part. Freedom didn't bring peace, it brought shadows. Neighbors avoided her. Family distanced themselves. The town whispered behind shutters. And Lizzie, she withdrew into a world of expensive parties and silent rooms, as if trying to bury something deep beneath luxury and denial. Psychologists today call this emotional displacement. You run from trauma, but trauma doesn't run from you. Now let's shift back to the house, quote, because the more investigators studied the hauntings, the more something shocking became clear. The spirits don't act like they reliving a murder. They act like they're stuck in a question. Footsteps pacing, soft whispers, sudden tension in certain rooms, especially near the staircase where Abby met her end. This behavior, it's not aggressive, it's searching, almost like the spirits themselves are still trying to understand what happened. That S when the unexpected twist hits. Many paranormal experts believe the house is haunted not because of unresolved death, but because of unresolved truth. Think about it. When a tragedy has a clear villain and a clear motive, hauntings tend to fade. But when everything is murky, when guilt, innocence, fear, love, resentment, and anger are all tangled together, that emotional storm lingers like a stain on the air. That's why moral ambiguity is so terrifying. Because deep down, you know the world isn't black and white, and neither was this case. Lizzie might have been innocent. She might have been involved. Or maybe she was covering for someone else entirely. That possibility, the one nobody wants to say out loud, is the one that keeps this haunting alive. Now here S, the final psychological layer, the one people feel but never understand. When visitors spend the night in the Borden house, they often report the same dream. A woman's voice whispering, "Tell me what happened," not crying, not screaming, just asking, like she's begging for clarity. That's the real horror here. Not blood, not an axe, not a ghost lurking in the dark, but the idea that sometimes the truth dies with the people who lived it, and the house becomes the only thing left trying to remember. So here's the haunted truth of the Lizzie Borden house, a place where psychology, tragedy, and the supernatural overlap so perfectly that you can tell where one ends and the other begins. A place where the past still breathes, where the dead still pace the halls waiting for answers, where curiosity becomes obsession, and where the most terrifying thing isn't the haunting, but the possibility that the spirits are in T, the only ones who will never know what really happened. If you ever visit, remember, you're not just stepping into a crime scene. You're stepping into a question that has been echoing for over 130 years. And once that question gets inside your head, it never leaves. Thanks for watching.